dramatic debut. And this past year, Jerry made his Broadway debut in Damn Yankee. Welcome, and we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Jerry Lewis, and later on, Jeff Greenfield's going to be here. We'll be talking about Bosnia also, and Jeff Harner's going to be here later. He's got a CD where he sings the Broadway songbook of 1959. I mean, there's a choice.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. I'm going to stay.
Of all the things.
I'm going to stay and watch that.
Get a CD and sing the Broadway songbook of 1959. You'll kill him with it.
I'm going to love that.
We're going to be right back with Jerry Lewis.
Everybody knows you love me.
Well, you were mean to me. You abused me and continually slapped me, and just how long do you think I could stand it?
Well, it's the talk of the town.
It's your mother. She can't keep her mouth shut.
Let's make up, sweetheart. Oh, we can't ever part.
You like me?
How long ago?
49 years ago.
40, so 49 from 95 is what? Not to put you on the spot.
I'm 69 years old.
So that was when you were 20 years old then. And when did you start with him? When you were like 20 years old? Because that was at the very beginning.
18 and a half.
Is that right? You were 18 and a half years old.
Yeah. And they said it wouldn't last.
How long were you together?
10 years to the day.
That's all? To what day?
July 25th, 46 to July 25th, 56.
Was that planned that way?
No.
It really just happened that way?
Yeah, we closed at the Copa on the 10th anniversary. The night of the 10th anniversary.
And you talked to him. You're in touch with him now.
Yes. And he's very, very well. And he's doing what he wants to do. He's retired and feels wonderful. And he's getting stronger all the time.
And he as I'm told, he goes out every night to a restaurant and sits alone and says he's expecting someone.
That's the way a recluse gets it on. He always has the table set for two, and he's expecting someone, and nobody bothers him. And he also has a wonderful device. If he sees someone coming that's paid their check and they're starting towards him, he'll just nod off. And when he feels they pass by, he wakes up and has a drink. It's wonderful.
Regis Philbin told me a story the other night. Oh, he went out there and he went to the restaurant because he knew Dean was going to be sitting in the booth, and he says to the maitre d', go over and tell Dean that it's Regis. Tell him from I was with Joey Bishop, because he doesn't know if Dean's watching Regis and Kathy live, you know. And he goes over to Reg, how are you, Reg? You know, and as he's talking to him, on television is the Bronco chase. The white Bronco. That's what's on television. As he's going, Reed, you know, I was with Joey. Yeah, Reed, how you doing? You know, he's looking at are they going to get OJ or not? What did they do? Change the lettering for the calls here? It's like very elaborate. It's like we got a Roman emperor. Well, we kind of do have a Roman emperor. The lettering is usually just plain. For you, they put on fancy Roman lettering.
I'm a Jewish icon. Did you know that?
I do know that.
Okay.
I do know that. Grandma Sarah.
Ah. Oh, well. Now you're talking about somebody. If you went to the Vatican, one of the apostles would be my Jewish grandma, Sarah.
Is that right? Was that your mother or Dad's mother?
My mother's mother.
Your folks were on the road a lot.
Yep, and I lived with my grandmother. And she was a very, very, very enthusiastic, optimistic, incredible, wise lady. And she forced me to follow my comic dream, and she was an incredible encourager and a great, great sense of humor.
Really? And your folks were, your dad and mom did what? They were in vaudeville.
They did everything I do, only better. They were incredible. And they played the Borscht Belt, the Catskills, maybe very close to where you were on your vacation. They played everything in the Catskills. My dad did 3 shows a night on weekends. He would do one in Fallsburg, one in Swan Lake, and another in Liberty, all in one night.
And what was he doing?
He was singing. He was doing mime. He was doing comedy. He was doing monologue.
And what was his name?
Danny.
Danny Lewis. And your mother played the piano?
She accompanied him. She led the orchestra, conducted, rehearsed. And they did 3 shows a night on a Saturday in a Borscht Belt, and my dad would get $15 a performance. And that's a lot of money in those days, in 1931. And when he added the kid, they got 20. When I worked with them, they got 20.
How old were you when you worked with him?
5.
And what did you do?
I sang Brother Can You Spare a Dime. It was the big song of the times. Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? And a 5-year-old kid in a tux stops the show cold. You know, he just has to show up. We'll take him right from the party and say, look at this, he's a hit. And they would get 20 on those 3 shows. So Dad would make $60 on a Saturday night. It was pretty good.
And whose idea was it for this 5-year-old to be in the act?
My father.
And did he, it's hard to answer this because you're that young, but you remember him coming and say, you want to be in the act?
No.
Or how did that work?
I just remember seeing my mom make the tux on a sewing machine. She made the tux, fitted me. I remember that distinctly. I remember the first night that I sang that number. It stopped the show cold. And my dad said, don't do it that good next time.
And that was a joke.
Of course it was a joke.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
No, only child. They saw me and said, that's it. Never again.
But the call would come in for them to go to be booked, and as I read about you, you were kind of hoping that the call wasn't for them to go and be booked.
I wanted them to stay home. We were home together very, very rarely. And when I would travel with them, I would be transferred in school from one school to another. And at one point, I had traveled with them in a period of like 2 years, and I had missed a lot of school, and I was left back in a class, which shattered me. And my grandmother went to them and said, don't do that to him again. Better he stays with me. And then my mom and dad, right after that, went to play the Coconut Grove. They were in the big Coconut Grove fire. They were performing there.
Which was?
The night of the fire.
In where?
In Boston.
In Boston.
The big
there was one in Florida, I think in L.A. too.
Yeah, but the one in Boston was, I think Buck Jones was killed in that fire. Or a very famous cowboy star, I'm not sure. Buck Jones or...
Why, Frank Freeman?
No, Jack Carp. And I was really shattered to hear about the fire because there was no communication from my parents that night. And the next morning they had called to say they were okay.
How old were you then?
I was about 7, I think, 7 or 8. But my dad knew the service entrance because they would come in with the employees. And had he not remembered, because of the smoke, had he not remembered where to go, they'd have never made it.
We're going to come up to a break, and we'll be right back with Jerry Lewis.
And Barney Balabin, a story about Barney Balabin. Whenever I'm, from time to time, depressed, and a trauma wells and swells within my breast, I find sometimes deep inside of me, as I fondly walk the lane of memory.
Now, you're in this until August, right?
August in New York, yeah.
August in New York, and then you go on for... Well, I'm curious about something. The quality of that was unusual. Usually a clip from a Broadway show, the sound isn't any good, but that was good. What was that?
We had good professional people that did the filming.
For what? For clips?
Specifically to do commercials.
Oh,
for the show.
I see. So that's what we just saw.
Yeah, a very, very good agency who represents Damn Yankees shot it. They've got good material.
And how is doing Damn Yankees for you?
Just great.
I love it.
Best time of my life.
This is what your dad always wanted you to do.
Yeah. I know that he's looking and giggling. Because now you got it, kid. That's what I keep hearing in my ear. Now you got it.
Because he thought Broadway was everything.
You bet.
And so in the 30s, you don't think about the movies.
No. In the 30s, I was thinking of food.
But your dad doesn't think about the movies either, whatever. No. Why?
Well, only because he was a very, very satisfied man. He had tremendous pleasure out of meeting his responsibility, clothing me and feeding my mother and I. That was all he really concerned himself with, and he was very satisfied. The sad thing about my dad was that he had no drive to do any better than he did. His drive was to meet his responsibilities, and he was happy. And so many people would say to him, my God, what a star you would be. He said, why? Why? You eat one meal at a time. You only drive one car. You live in one house. I'm very satisfied. My family's taken care of, and I get to go on every night, sometimes 3 times a night. So he was very satisfied with his lot. He never had any aspirations for anything more than that. And when it happened for me, he wasn't even in the shadow of the spotlight. He was very proud. And he loved what happened to me, but I would then question him and say, don't you see what this is about? He says, I see exactly, and I know I was right.
Meaning he wanted to do it on that level.
He was happy where he was.
Because if you went farther, you could also be asking for some, like if I left cable to go onto the network, I'd probably be asking for some grief.
Oh, there's no question. No question. There's a group of piranha waiting for you, kid.
Just waiting for me to get there so they can tell me everything.
You stay where you are, you'll be a happy man.
Everything you can do is wrong. Alice from Illinois, do you have a question for Jerry Lewis?
Yes. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Alice.
Tell you, we are your #1 fans, and we just love you.
Thank you.
Here's my question for Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry, first I must thank you for all the good that you do on your telethon.
Thank you.
My question, your daughter is so beautiful. Would you want her to go into show business when she gets a little older?
Yes, absolutely.
No, that's a great answer. Why, Jerry?
Because I believe that the mailman who says, I would not have my son do that, is saying to you that he hated his life. I love my life. And if I get the joy I get out of what I'm doing, I want her to get the same joy.
Yeah, that's a good, because most people say, oh, no, now your daughter who is 3, I think.
3, yes.
She's also an aunt.
She's the aunt to her my 7 grandchildren, yes.
And what do they call her?
They call her Auntie.
And what's her name?
Danielle, named after my father,
Danny. And they probably wonder why she doesn't get them more presents.
They don't understand why they're always looking down.
Lucy in Pennsylvania, do you have a question for Jerry?
I sure do. Hi, Charles.
Hi,
I
Lucy.
love your show.
Thank
Keep up
you,
the
dear.
wonderful work.
Thank you.
The other one liked it also, from the other state.
Jerry, I have a 7-year-old grandson with spinal muscular atrophy.
Oh, boy.
We can't thank you enough for all the time, everything you do to move this along.
Thank you.
You truly are one special person.
Well, thank you.
God bless you. And Jerry, my question to you is, I'm curious to know, what prompted you to start doing the telethon?
That's not an answer to a question. I've never answered that
He's
question.
never answered that question.
And
I know he won't answer that
The
question.
important thing is that I do it, my darling. The why of it is of no consequence.
Well, would you answer that? Why were you fired as an usher?
Because I caused a strike.
Tell us what? What is
I
that?
got all the ushers together and said we're being underpaid.
How old were you?
I was 14, part-time, low state theater, and I had 27 ushers walk out on a Saturday at 5 o'clock in the evening.
And they were older than you, a lot of the ushers.
Yes, absolutely.
And how much were you being paid?
I was getting $11.55 a week for 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, part-time. And I felt we should have gotten at least $13 a week for that.
And what happened?
We lost. And I was the spokesman, I was fired. Every one of the 26 other ushers went back to work, and I was standing outside looking in.
And why did you punch the principal? Was this in high school?
Yeah,
Why'd you punch the principal?
because he was a Jew hater.
Well, how did he manifest that attitude?
He made it very clear.
He did.
He let you know that if you were a Jew, you were less than human.
Really?
And I took objection to that, and I punched him through the bay window. And it was the best shot you ever saw a man take.
Well, what's the bay window? You mean in his stomach?
Bay window, behind his desk. He had this bay window. He went out.
He went through the window.
He went a half a story out of his office to the ground, and I was in a vocational school 2 days later.
And vocationally, you're like in a shop somewhere.
Yeah.
With a hammer.
Yes, electrical maintenance and repair. That's how I got this way. I stuck my finger in too many sockets.
This way, you mean you weren't originally you were actually like a regular person at one time?
No, I was born, they weren't sure. When I flew out of the window in the delivery room, they knew I was weird.
You actually?
Oh, yes.
Right from?
Right, like an
Whoa.
alien. Yep.
My goodness.
A large Jewish gnat
What did you weigh at birth? Do you remember?
I think 12.5 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And I went directly to school.
And you punched the doctor right through there?
Yes, of course. My vitamin pills were eaten, a 12-pounder with a knife and fork.
We're going to go to a break. What are we coming up to, 4? We'll be right back with Jerry Lewis, and then later Jeff Greenfield. Going to be talking about Bosnia, and a gentleman's going to sing.
If you wish to purchase a copy of this program, please send $24.95 plus $5 for shipping and handling for a videotape, along with name, air date, and subject of the program to Burrell's, P.O. Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. For credit card orders, please call 1-800-777-8398.
Harner's going to be
Jeff
out here
Harner.
singing. He's going to be singing.
He's going to talk about Bosnia?
No, he's going to. That's Jeff Greenfield.
Oh.
Is it Jeff Harner? And so
No,
we got
Jeff
two.
Greenfield's going to talk about the song.
No, Jeff Greenfield is going to sing "I've Got You Under My Skin," which will be a first.
Oh,
because
that's a
Jeff
new
Greenfield.
tune, at
Well,
least.
he's been
You got
on
something to look forward
Nightline
to.
primarily, but for the first time, Jeff Greenfield is going to sing, that standard, "I've Got You Under My." And Jeff Harner is going to be talking about Bosnia
right.
and Senator Dole's attack. And
Senator Dole did he did a nice number. Senator Dole. We got if you're going to ask for a presidential candidate to get your attention, he did it.
Yes.
Yes, he did it very well, Senator Dole.
I don't like violence and nudity and sex, and I like nice things.
He would like a police state, is what he's saying.
We'll talk about that with Jeff Lewis, Jeff Harner, Jeff Greenfield. Now, Jerry appears early on, I guess, in the Catskills, and you're opening for maybe women strippers.
Oh yeah, no, that was in burlesque.
And burlesque.
Yeah.
And it's hard to open for strippers.
It's always hard when you open for strippers.
So how
Want
old
to think about that?
How old are you? How old are you when you're out there as the opening act?
About 14.
14 years old.
I had to get permission to leave school for the 4 weeks that I was booked.
This
in
is like
burlesque.
machine shop you're leaving at this point. Electrical.
No, I haven't hit the
Oh, this is
principal
how you
yet.
hit the.
This is prior
You're
to.
still in the regular.
Yes.
Just a Jew waiting to be attacked.
Exactly. And I played the Palace Theater in Buffalo, which was a burlesque house, and the Casino Theater in Toronto. You played what they called the leg. Albany had a theater, and Troy. Albany, Troy, Buffalo, and Toronto.
How many people in the audience?
About 4, mostly with raincoats. And when it's mid-August and they're in raincoats, you know that they didn't come to see the show.
No.
You know. And to go on between strippers is really...
And what are you doing when you go out there? What are you doing?
Well, I was doing a record act. I was miming to recordings.
Who were you miming? Who was singing?
I did Sinatra. I did All or Nothing at All. Sinatra when he was with Harry James. I did Barbara Seville, Igor Gorin, Barbara Seville with a white wig. I was a smash. I did a strong 9 minutes. Not to that audience.
No, but generally you did.
Oh yes, I was a winner.
And yet also, I mean, that's a tough audience. And, I remember Albert Brooks, he opened, I think, for Neil Diamond at a stadium, and he does real subtle, oblique humor.
Yeah.
Good luck. And he stopped
wonderful.
performing for like 25 years after that, literally.
It's a good burn.
Didn't want to go. No, you have to know where you are. This is why I don't have an audience. Because, I could say, hey, that was a terrific monologue, and who's going to say, they're going to say you didn't get any laughs, and there's nobody there, but my daughter, believe me, she's laughing. That's my daughter. It really is. But when you're starting, you also get some advice from some people who are older saying, forget about it.
Well, there are those people who are the pessimists and the discouragers. You can't listen to them.
And are they on the act? Are they on the bill? Is that how they get to tell you to forget about it?
Well, they're usually people that have been beating around for a while, and they've been beaten down, and this business can do that to people. And if you don't have the energy and the enthusiasm and the love for it, that would circumvent all of that kind of negative dialogue. I wasn't about to listen to any of that. If I listened, I'd have been working at Florsheim now.
Well, there's always that, and I talk about this a lot because when I started very early on, I mean, they were basically beating me into the ground, and you were 5, I was 18, but they still start off like, get out of here, and I'd say, whoa, wait, what, I don't know, I'm not any good, I'm just trying to find out what you do, why are you doing it? But I was smart enough to know it's not right to beat people over the head, if you could say something helpful. Did you ever hear much that was helpful from any of these
sure.
people?
I learned
From these people?
I learned from some of the second bananas, like a man named Max Coleman, who was on the bill in Buffalo. I was so despondent at not being able to be accepted by an audience that really didn't come to see what they call a dumb act. And I was packing, ready to leave after a matinee, and he came into my dressing room. He said, you can't be Danny Lewis's son. There's a mistake here somewhere. He said, Danny Lewis had, well, he used an expression I can't use, but he had a set of, and you're not Danny Lewis's son. And I remember I was sobbing like a kid, and he said, if you were really Danny Lewis's son, you'd do the dinner show, and you would continue, because if you pack and you leave, you'll never walk on a stage again. And he really made me listen. And I went up and I did the dinner show, the 6:30 show. And he had all the chorus girls in the wings and the other comics. He set them all up in the wings to laugh at what I did. And he saved my life.
Really?
A great, wonderful old clown. Saved my life.
And you were how old then?
About 14.
Well, you've got like 4 years, and you should have 40 years or 400 years to keep doing what you're doing, because you entertain people magnificently for my whole lifetime. I can't speak before my lifetime, but then you weren't performing before my lifetime.
Probably
As long as you went to, there'll be crowds there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. It was a pleasure to be with you.
It's a great pleasure.
And I enjoy your show, and I know you're going to be wonderful as long as you stay on cable.
We'll be right back with Jeff Greenfield and Bosnia. Be right back.
I've often walked down this street before, but the pavement...
Yes,